Hey guys, welcome back to the journey. I am super excited for today's episode with my guy Travis Vincent. Travis, what's up, man?
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, super excited. Now done at this point, done probably well over $1 million in life insurance.
Yep, for sure.
Just uh, super excited to hear to talk about because everyone sees the Travis Vincent today, right? No one sees the Travis Vincent day one in the business, right? So if you could, Travis, kind of tell people your story, kind of getting it started, what you were doing before insurance, and then what kind of led you into insurance, and then your journey here.
Yeah. Again, appreciate you having me on. It's always cool to be in town. But yeah, I think I was in sales for a little bit. I think you and I worked at the same lawn care company, selling like door to door. After that, got married, moved up to New England, and I was pretty much just running like a call center, doing like fundraising for police and fire. So again, I wasn't unfamiliar to sales. Obviously, I was like super new to insurance, and I think really how I found this opportunity or the insurance space is really from you.
Yeah.
I still think back, it's so funny because like I remember you and Olivia were heading up to Maine
Yeah.
to go visit some family. I think you were driving through New Hampshire, and so you had texted me like, "Hey, we're going to be in town for like a day. Do you want to like grab lunch?" And obviously, I was working a W-2 job, so I had to request time off, which is not always the easiest thing. But looking back, and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I did that because I ended up requesting to get the day off. I think we double date, right? We
Yeah.
we we have lunch with the wives, and it was in that moment that at the towards I think the end of that lunch, that's when you kind of told me that, hey, I'm looking to get into this insurance thing. And I remember thinking at the time, the way you were explaining it to me, right? Because like the amount of money that you can actually receive just by selling insurance is like mind blowing. Like if you've never seen anything, I'd never seen anything like that. So I remember you trying to explain it to me because you weren't in yet.
No, I was in the process of taking my test at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm just hearing from the guys that are already in, like that I knew, like that had recruited me, like the kind of money you can make. So I was just like, dude, I'm just, I was super excited about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, me trying to explain it to you, looking back on that was probably absolutely like, I probably
Yeah.
confused you more than I helped you during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember you trying to explain it, like how much money people were making per week, and I'm like, dude, like some people were making like my salary in a week that I would make in a month, right, in
Yeah.
insurance. And I'm like, there's no way. It just sounded like scammy or weird. But I also knew that, like, because you and I have been good friends for a long time,
Yeah.
you had worked at that lawn care company, got promoted, like, you had a good salary. So I'm like, well, I mean, there's no way you are just going to, like, randomly do something off a whim.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking in my head, like, well, it sounds kind of weird, but it's like, well, maybe there's something to it. So I think I remember telling you, like, oh, yeah, just let me know how it goes. Because I think you were like, hey, I could probably get you in or help you point you in the right direction if you're interested.
Yeah.
And it's not that I wasn't interested because like I was definitely looking for another opportunity to make like good money for my family, but it just sounded so unrealistic. I was like, well, I'll watch you do it for a while and see how you do, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. I didn't really give it a second thought, other than like when you and Olivia left, we like kind of hugged, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I think you got your license back, or you got licensed and started actually selling back like September, October of that year.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gone part time. I did it part time for like off and on. And then I'm like, okay, let me kind of get a little more serious about it. I did it for the month of November of 2020.
Yeah.
I did it part time for a month,
Yeah.
and then I went full time kind of like end of December, going to January of 2021 is when I officially
Yeah. Okay.
started.
Yeah, because I remember that, and again, I was still working at the same call center. I remember there was a few weekends you'd be texting me because you're out there like selling part time, and I can't remember, but maybe your first weekend you had like a decent size sale or a big one.
Yeah.
I can't remember, and I remember you'd call me, you'd be like, "Hey, you ready to make some money?" You know what I mean? And I was like, and then you were sending me like some deposits, and I'm like, dude, that's crazy. So then that really planted the seed. Like,
Yeah.
again, if anyone knows me, I'm not one to make quick decisions. I'm probably that client that everyone hates. Like, oh yeah, I need to think about it. Like that's me, right?
Yeah.
So I remember even though you were showing me deposits and like you were starting to do well, I was like still needing, I guess, more like proof of concept.
Yeah.
And I think from there you added me to like we had a Facebook group back then. So like everyone that was like posting sales or pictures with clients were all like messaging in the Facebook group, and I would like get these notifications like all day. I was at my job, get these notifications at night on Facebook. Here comes the notifications.
Yeah.
And I think what really stood out to me is there was a couple other guys. So obviously I knew you really well. And then I remember seeing Richie Crahall, who I knew a little bit as well from like college. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Richie's in this too. And then I remember Joe Basso, and there's a couple of names.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second. So like, there's guys that I knew from from Bible college. And I'm like, wait a second. Well, maybe there's something to that. And then I think it was like one like freezing cold January day. I was just frustrated.
Yeah.
I think my car had an issue, and I'm like, come on again. I was unhappy about like my pay at my W-2 job. And then I remember texting you like, all right, dude, like, what do I got to do to get this started? Because
Yeah.
like you were starting to do well. I had recognized other names doing well. So I'm like, all right, I'm at least going to look into this, even part time, just to see if it could work for me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I guess my journey started at finding insurance.
Yeah. That's crazy. Just a blast from the past, man.
Yeah.
Dude, like, cause talk about your first like few months to first year in the business. Like,
Yeah.
talk about like the early struggles and how you kind of like pushed through them and kind of like what your mindset was and how that's kind of like changed over the years.
Yeah, yeah. So early on, like man, looking back, early on was like rough. So first off, I took forever to actually get licensed. I remember January is when I sent you that text, and I think like it took me probably a few months to get through the course. Not because I was not interested, but I was like one of those people that just like I do it for an hour at night after work and then put it down for the weekend. So I was like, pretty slow at getting through the course. Finally was ready to take my test. I think it was like I would say like mid March. I was ready to finally take my test. So it was like 2 months right in the course.
Yeah.
Which looking back, like that's insane. Like that should have taken me like 2 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
I take my test, pass the first try, like no problem. And then we got to wait for contracting, which I mean nowadays, man, like contracting is so much smoother than it was back then.
Yeah.
Because I think I had my license like mid March, but then I wasn't ready to actually sell till like mid April. So it took another 30 days, and now this time it wasn't me procrastinating. It was just like the state of New Hampshire and the carriers and everything taking so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I finally got my license, and then I remember, you're like, hey, got to get some leads, got to get in front of some people. So I had just gotten my tax return because again, I was coming from a financial spot where it's like it wasn't good, right? I had my car that I was like had an issue that I couldn't fix, and I couldn't afford it. So I remember literally when I got my tax return, half of it went to fix my car,
Yeah.
and then the other half went to buy leads, and that was pretty much it. So I was like, oh, I can't buy anything nice like we normally do, right?
Yeah.
That poor mindset, right? Always spending the money you get, right?
Yeah.
But I invested in leads, got some leads, and then I remember my first dial day was actually on my birthday. So I was like, all right, so it's Monday morning before I had to go into my W-2 job because I work second shift. And I was like all excited, pumped, ready to go. I'd watched all the training videos, got new leads. It was final expense, ready to go. And I remember just getting my teeth kicked in. And that was like eye-opening for me because like remember, I'm coming from like a sales background. Again, I can talk to people, right? So it's not like I'm afraid to have a conversation. I'm not afraid of the phones. But this was different. And I think my mindset was off. Like I think like most new agents, I was confused, right? I thought a lead meant, hey, they're going to buy insurance.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand is like a lead doesn't mean they're going to buy insurance. It just means it's a prospect. So unlike when you cold call or door knock, you skip all the people that would never buy. You're only talking to people that would consider it.
Yeah.
And so I think that first day was rough for me because, you're getting hung up on. I never filled it out. Just the same stuff that new agents hear today. It was the same back in 2021, like the same stuff, even though they definitely filled it out. So I really struggled on the phones, I think. And like my schedule is kind of weird, right? It's like I'm working like 50 hours a week at my W-2, still trying to be a husband and a good dad. So it was like I didn't really have a consistent schedule going down, which I think that actually hurt me as well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really plugged in. Like back then, there was really no such thing as live dials. I wasn't reaching out as much as I probably should. You know what I mean? So it's like, in reality, I'm on an island trying to figure out something absolutely brand new. And so it definitely took me a while. I remember, I think the first like 30 days, I didn't make a single sale. I mean, I was just like, I bought like 2 or 3 batches of leads, literally got no return on investment.
Yeah.
And that was definitely rough. That was like my initial like look into the insurance industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, you made your first sale, right? I think if
Yeah.
I remember, we had talked, and you were like, "Dude, I'm out of leads," and I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what I do when I'm out. When I was new, I was like, hey, let's just go door knock them,
Yeah.
right?" And I think like one, I remember one you had, I don't know if it was your first sale, but one of the first few, you ended up getting into like this building, and then ended up being like a massive sale,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just finding that person and like the help, like kind of like spark your your ascension in the business.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember early on, like, because you were kind of like my the person I leaned on to like get my frustration out, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember literally convincing myself or thinking, well, maybe Chicagoland area is like great for insurance, but New England, like these people just suck. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember saying that, right? Which is so silly to think about that. Like everybody needs insurance; they're all
Yeah.
Americans, right? But I was convinced myself because I was the only agent in New England, and I was like really struggling. But I think what you helped me understand is like, look, you're just not putting the numbers in your favor.
Hmm.
Like, yes, insurance is a skills game. Like, you have to learn, underwriting and word tracks and how to communicate with a client. But early on, it's like you just got to get reps in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I wasn't doing early on. I was working like, I mean, semi part time, wasn't even really part time. It was like a couple hours a week. And I remember seeing agents that came in after me. I remember like, a good example. I remember Joe Basso's sister coming in like a month after me,
Hmm.
and she's over there like just crushing it, like writing like 20K a month.
I remember.
And I remember you telling me like the only difference between you and then Joanne is Joanne's like working full time. She's putting like 40, 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
She's running 30 appointments a week. You're running like one appointment a week. Like I would set 3 appointments in a weekend. Two of them would no show me, and I'd have one opportunity. And then I'd put it on the shelf for another like 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
So it's like that was really the issue. And I think, yeah, when I had that conversation with you, because again, I was complaining. I was like, well, I don't have leads, so how am I supposed to put the numbers in my favor? And that's when you said, well, hey, how many of your leads didn't answer the phone? And I had like a ton of them. I had bought like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, a lot of them haven't answered the phone. And you said, well, what I would do is I would just door knock everyone, just get in front of them and see what happens. And you're like, if you do that and then let's say you still don't make a sale, let me know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So that kind of gave me a little bit like, all right. So I kind of felt like, well, Mike's got my back. I'm at least going to put the work in because like if I fail again, well, at least who knows? Maybe they'll figure out something to help me get more leads.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I remember having a conversation with my wife, Irma, made sure she was on the same page. I'm like, hey, I really want to do this. And what I love about Irma, she's like always super supportive. She's like, if you believe that this is what you need to do and it's going to take care of her family, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And so I think getting the validation from you that you had my back and then getting her support, that's kind of all I needed. And I'm like, all right. So then I almost got angry with it. I remember just like, I'm like, all right, here, we're good to go now. I just literally, back then we used to door knock. So I had this app called Road Warrior.
Yep.
And it was basically an app where like if you're a UPS driver, you can put all your stops in there and it like orders it in a way to where like you're efficient with your time.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just got the Road Warrior app and I literally put in every single lead. And I think I had like, I don't know, like 50 final expense leads that hadn't answered the phone. And I even put the ones that were like hanging up on me really quick. Because you even said that like if they hung up on you within minutes, like just show up at their door. It's going to be different in person.
Yeah.
So I remember even like, one lady in specifically, I remember I called her twice, like 2 different days, and she was like cussing me out, like just the meanest lady ever on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And I remember marking her like jerk on the sheet or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? So I threw her in the list too, right?
Yep.
Long story short, I go out all day Saturday just door knocking, like in from Road Warrior, just driving around the state. I was listening to like a podcast about insurance, just trying to stay motivated, hearing other agents have success. Lo and behold, had a huge weekend, which was insane. I remember the first sale I made, kind of funny. She ended up charging back, and it wasn't a huge one, right? It was like lady, just really tight budget, needed insurance. I ended up selling her, and then like the next day she changed her mind. But the second door I knocked was that lady that I wrote jerk on the sheet because I thought she was just like not a good person.
Yeah.
And so I remember hearing a podcast. One of the agents said like when you show up at a door, if you're door knocking, just act like you're supposed to be there. I remember listening to that like right before I got to this lady's door. So crazy story. She had one of those like high rise apartments. You had to get buzzed up.
Yep.
So I just hit the buzzer. Her husband answers and he's like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's Travis. Travis Vincent, I'm here for the life insurance. And the husband's like, life insurance? And then he's like, hang on. And I can hear him talking back to her. And he's like, all right, come on up, and buzzes me up. And again, I have no appointment there. I'm just literally just like, I'm just doing whatever I can.
Yeah.
So they let me up. I get all the way up there. This lady's like the nicest person in person,
Yeah.
right? Like just hammered me on the phone, but in person, she was like a sweetheart. She lets me in. I show her the lead. I'm like, hey, you're looking for insurance? She's like, yeah, I definitely am. I didn't bring up that I was the guy that she hung up on the phone. I'm like, we're good. I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Long story short, I wrote her up, and it was like a $4,000 sale. Like that was the commission I got from it because she was an older lady, needed life insurance, was willing to pay a good premium, didn't even bat an eye.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of there, I was like, I think I texted like you and then Caleb Ambrose. I'm like, hey, I just, and I texted the AP, and they're like, that's the AP? Like, and it, like
Yeah.
you, and I think Caleb said, do you realize how much money you just made? And I
Yeah.
had no idea. And that honestly just gave me the confidence though.
Yeah.
I think what I proved to myself that day is like, look, if you're willing to put in the work, and I was still pretty bad at insurance, right? It wasn't like I just figured it out.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was willing to put myself out there, just kind of put the numbers in my favor and just not care about the results, it just proved to me that, look, if you put in the work, like people are going to buy, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why they filled out the leads, and then you'll get better over time.
Yeah. I think the big thing for that too was like you could have not gone out that day,
Yeah.
right? You could have like chose to do whatever, made an excuse, right? But I think that's the difference with a lot of agents is that they're it's the little extra effort, right?
Yeah.
It's the little things, right? Getting a little bit earlier, staying a little bit later, working the weekends, right? I think just those extra at bats, like it's not luck. It's that the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Yeah.
And especially in this business, I think that's so important because just because of like how that appointment probably changed the rest of your trajectory here, right?
Yeah.
Just by putting that little extra effort. I mean, another thing is you got to the door, right, and it's an apartment building. You could have been like, oh, I got to buzz my way in, right? Like,
Yeah.
let me go to a house, but you still went through the process
Yeah.
and ends up like being a $4,000 sale that like sets the rest of your
Yeah.
gave you the proof of concept, right?
Yeah.
That was big for me, right? Especially if I'm coming from sales, right? Like I needed that proof of concept. I needed that win.
Yeah.
So I think that was huge. I literally remember that whole interaction of like your first sale and like how like or the first real big sale that you had
Yeah.
and just how like excited I was for you and like what it's kind of done
Yeah.
since then, right? Um so early on, I think after kind of like getting into it your first year, kind of went through some ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like it'd be like a good week, bad week, good week, bad week, right? Like, cause I remember going through that myself,
Yeah.
and I remember just like, cause one week you'd have 10K, and the next week it was like 2, 3K, right? And like just trying to keep that consistency going. How have you kind of like been able to like be so much more consistent over the last couple of years? Cause you've written an insane amount of business. What did you write last year?
433,000 for the year.
430,000,
Yeah.
insane, right? So, how are you able to write at that high a level and just kind of consistently write at 10 plus K a week?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like because I don't even feel like I'm still that good, right? It's like, and any entrepreneur will understand this, like, and I think it's good for a new agent to hear that, like, you're always like it's you versus you all the time. Like, still to this day, right? I've been in the industry now like 4 years, had 3 awesome years back to back to back, and still to this day, like just last week, I'm like, man, did I forget how to sell? Because like you'll have like a tough stretch where just like no one's buying, right?
Yeah,
But I think for me, it's just like I remember early on saying that, hey, what's the worst that's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is like I'm still going to be in the same spot that I am. It's not going to get any worse,
yeah,
right? It's just like I'm going to be stuck in this financial situation that I am, which is not good.
mm-hmm.
And then again, just kind of pushing through. Like I had that breakthrough and ups and downs through the first like year or so. But still to this day, right? The way I always see it, it's like, okay, it's like if I was working for somebody else, doesn't matter how you feel, like you always got to show up and clock in because that's your job.
Yeah,
So there are some days that like, look, I have to convince myself like there's some days I'm not motivated to come in. You know what I mean? Motivation is fleeting. Like, I could watch a video and get pumped or see another agent have success and get pumped or get a good commission day and be like, oh, I'm riding the high. But let's be honest, like motivation is fleeting. It's discipline that gets anyone that's successful to where you want to be.
yeah,
It's like the small disciplines every day. I think of it like working out, right? Like same thing. Like okay, you can get motivated to work out and eat right, but then like, dude, that goes away really quick. Like when you start lifting, it's like, or you're running, and it's like, you have to say no to the cake. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's the discipline. So really, that's I think all it is just like for me, it's just like every day I almost treat it like I have to clock in. Like I work for myself, but the way I
Right.
see it is if I don't show up, I'll be unemployed pretty soon.
Yeah.
Right. So like every day I just pretend like this is my job. I never take time off. Like my wife knows, like I'll never ever take time off unless it's planned.
Yeah.
Which sometimes probably bothers her, but she's used to it by now. But that's what it is. Like there's like nobody can ever call me up and say, "Hey, let's go out and do this today." It's like, well, if I had work on the schedule, it's like I pretend like, "Hey, sorry, I got to be at work today."
Yeah.
If you catch me like a couple weeks ahead of time, like we'll put it on the calendar and then hey, we'll do it. You know what I mean? So I think that's all it is. It's just the discipline to show up every day, no matter how you feel, whether you had a great day, great week, a bad day, bad week. But what's interesting about insurance, I feel like the numbers always work out. I've had bad weeks. I've had bad days. I've never really had a bad month though.
Yeah.
Like typically, if I put in 30 days of work, I look back, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? And so I think that's what kind of helps me keep it going and have big years. Again, not doing anything special. I'm just showing up every day. I think I take 2 vacations a year, and that's it. Like everything's planned. Sometimes I'll take a long weekend, but then I'll make up for it by working extra around it and just keep that consistency.
Love it. Dude, what has the insurance and Pinnacle, what has that done for you, it kind of like personally in your life, right? Because I remember getting started, we were kind of in similar positions where we were like comfortably living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Hmm.
What has the insurance world allowed and like changed for you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like I have a long way to go, but like it's like night and day for where I came from, right? And
Yeah.
I always tell people like it's not about the money necessarily, right? Because like
Yep.
what am I gonna do? Just like staple money all over my walls? Like that's silly. But it's like really the lifestyle that Pinnacle and insurance has allowed me to have. Meaning, I remember when I worked that W-2 job, like I was the guy that like when I stopped at the gas station, I had to figure out, okay, how much gas do I need to put in my car so I can make it home, but also not like go over to where I can't buy anything else. Like that was me
Yeah.
like every week. Or if me and Irma would be at the grocery store, like we would be like, hey, can we get the noodles today? You know what I mean? It's like we had to literally budget everything, and again, that's real. I think for a lot of people,
Yeah.
right nowadays. So the insurance really just changed that because again, I don't feel like I'm rich, but
Yeah.
like I don't remember the last time I worried about gas prices or filling my tank.
Yeah.
Like it's been years. Like when I need gas, it gets filled up. I like if you ask me how much does gas cost per gallon, I have no idea. I mean that's what insurance did for me, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Like we could go out to eat. I never have to worry about like what something costs at the restaurant. Again, it's just like I can take my kids out to eat. We can go to the movies. Never worry about how much that costs. Which again, family of four at the movies. If you worked a W-2 job like I did 4 years ago, like we had to budget a couple movies a year, man. Because
Sneak
like,
one of the kids in or
yeah,
something.
exactly. It's just like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I think honestly the best part is, I mean, I do work a lot, right? Like sometimes I tell like my family or friends that aren't entrepreneurs or aren't in the insurance industry, and like, man, you work all those hours. That's crazy. To me, it's worth it. And if you ask my wife, it's the same for and kids as well. Because like, look, like we work hard, but we play hard.
Hmm.
Like literally 3 years in a row, every year so far, we've been able to go to Disney World, which again, Disney World is not cheap. It's
Yeah.
like the funnest thing ever. I never thought Disney World would be fun because I'd never been, right? Once
Yeah.
I've been, it's like, dude, I'm a kid over there. It's like so fun.
Yeah.
And again, it's an expensive trip, but it's like, that's something we can easily afford every single year.
Yeah.
Which looking back at my old job, it's like, there's no way. Like, I had never been before, and there was no way we could have done that without the
And
insurance
the
industry.
memories that builds for your kids and your and Irma, I think is so cool that you guys do that every single year.
100%.
Like they're still young, right? And they're it's like
Yeah.
that you're able to do that when like before insurance, like
Yeah.
that's tough. You gotta say maybe like it's a once in a lifetime thing, and you're able to do it every single year. I
Yeah.
think is really cool. I know your kids really look forward to
Oh,
it,
it's
and the
it's
wife,
cool. Yeah,
right? So
it's a cool time for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Um, so with I think just looking like watching you like progress over the years, dude, like how much your skill level has improved. Can you kind of talk about where that came from? Like how did you? Because that doesn't come by accident, right? That's a lot
Hmm.
of you investing back into Travis Vincent, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for agents to realize like you can work extremely hard, but it's also a skill game.
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
kind of talk about that?
Yeah, because I do agree. Yeah, like I always thought like if I want to be the best or if I want to have success, I need to like chase the best,
Mm.
right? And not that I view myself like I'm like the Michael Jordan of insurance, like not even close, right? But I always knew that hey, I'm gonna look at people or try to emulate people that are doing a lot better than I do. You know what I mean? So when it comes to like selling, right? I think of like Caleb Combs, right?
Yeah,
Like the goat of selling. Like the guy writes like $1 million of a year in insurance, like
yeah,
right. So like if I want to know how like what word tracks or what my tone should be on the phone, well then listen to Caleb Combs, right?
hmm,
When it comes to like team building, I think of like Mindy Tibbs or Jonah Lewis,
yeah,
like they figured out how to build a team in insurance, right?
yep,
Even outside of like Pinnacle, right? Like I love Jeremy Lee Minor, the way he communicates to clients, right? So I think the way I look at it is like as important as it is to like put the numbers in your favor as far as work, you also have to learn to grow your skill level,
mm,
right? And so what I try to do is like, you know, anytime I'm in the car, right? I mean, sometimes this doesn't always happen if I have the wife and kids. They like to listen to music, right?
yeah,
But if I'm by myself in the car, like it's YouTube University.
mm,
I typically will have something that's going to educate my mind on how to get better at what I'm doing, which is insurance. So it's usually, again, Jeremy Lee Minor. It's a podcast from Pinnacle, someone else in the insurance industry. Again, that's better than me. So I can learn what they're doing. So I can, again, just make little tweaks on my own process and try to learn from that. So I think that's big, like reaching out to people that are where you want to be and then learning, always investing in yourself. That if you're not growing, you're dying,
yeah.
right? So always trying to get better.
Love it. Because I mean, this is over the last year. It's been cool because you've added, writing at a high level. You're starting to do annuities, right?
Yeah.
Starting to pick that up. I think we were talking the other day, and like, I think we were saying like you're on pace just an annuity volume to basically match your salary of your last job,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which is just absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
And that's not including all the insurance you're writing, right? Um, so I think it's just it's so cool the different things that you've added in, and plus you're helping full time with Pinnacle new agents that are coming in. So it's been really cool to see that evolution and
Yeah.
how your successes has been over the last few years. So um, any kind of parting words for a new agent kind of coming in who's again sees Travis Vincent. What's someone that kind of getting started? What's some practical advice that you'd give them getting started to hit the business and get going quickly?
Yeah, I mean some practical advice is I'd say so a couple things like I think you it was either you or one of my mentors told me early on. So for a good analogy, like think of like a jet plane, right? If you fly in an airplane, like it takes 80% of its fuel just to get off the ground, off the
Mm,
runway and up and through the clouds, right?
yeah.
And then once you get up in the clouds, then you're coasting.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you'll never hit turbulence above the clouds, but it's like, dude, it's a lot easier than trying to get off the runway. And I think where a lot of agents fail, and honestly, I was almost in that boat, right? I remember early on going through that 80% of my energy trying to just take off and try to figure this out. It's like, man, was that frustrating. It was really, really hard, right? But again, if I can stay with it, the worst thing you want to do is turn the plane around when you're taking off, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like crash, everybody dies, right?
Yep.
So it's like as a new agent, you got to figure out a way to stay in it when it's hard,
Mm,
right? Because it's not going to be hard forever, right? Eventually, you get over the clouds, and again, doesn't mean you're going to coast forever. Like you'll hit turbulence, but the turbulence at this point in my career way easier to deal with in that first like 90 days
mm,
that I was in the business. And then also what I love about insurance is I feel like once you hit month 10, 11, 12, or once you've been here a year, that's when the real magic happens because I think a lot of agents that I've seen that come and go, like in within the first like I don't know 6 months to a year, it's like they don't realize like you get back end money,
yeah.
which is insane, right? So it's like yes, you get upfront commission as you're figuring out, but like once you've been here a year, 2 years, 3 years, I mean, you got back end commissions that are coming from your work. Maybe you have some agents underneath you that are then producing. So it's just like a snowball effect in the right direction. But you have to understand to start the ball rolling up the hill, it takes the most effort just to get going.
Love
So I
it.
think, shout out I'd say to any new agent is like find a way, no matter what, to stay alive in the first year. Cause, I look back at myself and it's like, thank God I didn't quit in the first like 90 days when there was multiple times where, I mean, I'd call you. I'm like, man, maybe this just isn't for me.
Mm.
But looking back, it's like I have no idea where we'd be if I just threw in the towel early on.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, dude. It's that first year, like you're saying, man, those first 9 months are going to be grueling for you as a new agent, but put your head down, keep showing up, keep just. My thought as a new agent was always just let me outwork my problems.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
have enough leads and let me just outwork my problems. So I think if you're a new agent, like there's nothing wrong with working Saturdays, right? There's nothing wrong. I see you on Sunday sometimes posting sales, right?
Yeah.
It's that little extra effort we talked about earlier. Like this is why would I remember working at Trugan and thinking, okay, why would I work this hard? Like, why would I work less hard here for my own dreams, right?
Yeah.
I was working 60, 70 hours over there. Why would I not put that same effort and energy into this work and, work for myself and try to build something big? So,
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That's well said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I appreciate you jumping on. You're one of my best friends, dude. Love
Yeah.
doing this business with you. Appreciate you. And hope everyone takes a lot from this.
Yeah. Love you, dude. Appreciate it.
Love you, dude. See you guys.
Nice
Stuff.